Welcome to Brought Back to Life, a podcast where we explore how Jesus changes everything.
Hey, my name is Chris Cleveland from Stars Go Dim, and I was brought back to life when I stopped trying to be right about everything and let go and let God be God. And it's really incredible how much bigger God is when we can take our tight grip off of Him and let Him be who He is. So I grew up in a family, like a church family. So we were the people that turn the lights on, turn the lights off. We were the first in, we were the first out. And my mom's dad was a pastor. My mom led music at the church. I started playing piano for the church at 10. And that was kind of the thing. And so I've seen church in kind of every version of it. And that was really dysfunctional. It's probably a story for a different podcast, but was just really didn't turn out great. And so I remember learning really early how to separate people from God. And I think it was this really, God just being gracious to me, because I think had I not been able to do that, I would have walked away from faith altogether, especially during those times, about 16, 17 years old, when some things happened that were just really crazy. And I remember God just being, I remember thinking, okay, God, that's not you, this isn't you. And I would have these conversations with God kind of in my head all the time. I remember being in high school thinking, I didn't really pray, but I just had conversations with God all the time. And as an adult, I think back on those times, and sometimes I think about how naive I was and all of these things, but I think there was something really special about those moments and the conversations that I would have. And moving from that, I kind of played music and worked through different churches and all different denominations from, started in the Southern Baptist Church and have sang literally in every type of church there is, and started this band, Stars Go Dim, as this mainstream pop band, and started traveling the world doing that in secular spaces, but also was leading worship in churches all the time. And eventually I had this opportunity to come on staff at a church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I didn't want to, but I wanted to kind of move out of the house and be on my own and have some independence. I was also starting school kind of at the same time, and starting college, and started Stars Go Dim in the same month. It was August of 2007. And I vividly remember thinking, I don't want to work for this church, but it was a big mega church. And I thought, but they look like they could pay my rent. And because every interaction that I'd had with people from 16, I think I just saw people trying to represent who God was and just failing at it really miserably. And I was like, I don't think I want anything to do with this. I'd rather be my broken self and everybody know it. And everybody see it, and me just come as I am, take me as I am, but at least I'm being honest. And I don't know why I took this interview. I don't know why I showed up, but I did. And I met a few pastors, and I remember sitting down thinking, oh my gosh, these are three of the first pastors I've ever met that I didn't think were full of it. And I didn't feel like they were trying to sell me anything. I didn't, and I literally in the interview said, guys, I don't think I want to work for a church. And I worked there for 10 years. And I can look back on it now, and I can see the graciousness of God, but I can also see the graciousness of those men who brought me in, who were so kind to me and let me learn and screw up and mess up and say the wrong things and do the wrong things and actually push against them on things. And they were so gracious to be like, oh, we'll take this, but let us just like point you in the right direction. And so as life kind of went on, I did that and did the megachurch thing and all of those things. And then Stars Good Dim became a Christian band in the midst of that, which is, again, a story for a whole other podcast. But in the midst of that, I'd met my wife. We started having kids and that kind of stuff. I was firmly kind of in this church thing. And I think if we're talking about faith, I still had a really, really, I would say kind of immature faith. There's still kind of the faith that I'd been given. And I remember one day I was walking through the halls of our church and I saw this tweet from Michael Gungor, of all people. And I knew he was messing with people because he likes to do that, but I didn't know why. And he tweeted this thing that says, I can't say that the first person to walk on earth was a guy named Adam any more than I can say two animals of every kind got on a boat. And, and I'm like, what is this? I was brought up to read the Bible very literally and take every single word very literally. And there was a guy who's a few years older than me at the church who was a Hebrew professor at the local Christian college. And he had just this beautiful way of being able to dumb it down for normal people. And I went to him and was like, Jason, what is happening here? I know Gungor is messing with us, but what is he doing? And it was Jason sat down and he was like, well, here's what the Bible is. It's this set of books, and here's how we can read them, and this is the type of literature each of these things are, and this is what type of stories there are, and there's some things that we take really literally, and there's some things that we take as other things. And so he broke down kind of the beginning of Genesis for me, and really in its most simplest form is this story of how to tell the history of the Jewish people and their relationship with God. And it really blew my mind, and I started to begin to realize that I don't know anything. I feel like I had like defended faith and defended God and had all these things and had all the right Christian answers, but maybe I really didn't know what I was talking about. And so that led me, I think, into this journey of trying to figure this whole thing out. And to figure it out, I had to break it all down. And I think it's like you call it deconstruction prior to this kind of deconstruction thing. And I've never been afraid of that word. I think a lot of Christians might be, and it kind of became this hot button topic thing. But I honestly think anybody who's willing to deconstruct and willing to put that time in really cares about what they believe. Because otherwise you just say, I don't believe, and I walk away. And so for me, that's how I felt. And I honestly felt like it's been and is, because I think this is a continual thing for me of being curious and seeking, truth and knowledge and all these things, and being okay with being wrong and all these things. I think that's working out your salvation. I think that's what Paul was talking about. And so that began, I was 30 years old when I realized how much I don't know. And I think for the last 8 years, I have continued to learn how much I don't know. And I've kind of got obsessed with it. So I've really gone through from head to toe, A to Z, most of my faith, and really broken it down and figured out like what I think I can stand on and the things that I need to hold closer. But what it's left me with, honestly, and when people ask me now where my faith is, the best way for me to describe it is to show you. I think before, my faith was like these two clenched fists, and I held on to it and I defended it and I had to do these things. And now my faith is open hands, palms up to the sky.
Peace isn't about the absence of problems. It's about the presence of Jesus. For more, go to the Faith tab at onpurposely.com.
When I implement the way of Jesus in my life, when I can make the ways of Jesus my ways, when I wake up in the morning and I choose love and I choose acceptance and I run after the things that I think Jesus ran after and talk about, man, my life is better. I'm a better dad and I'm a better husband and I'm a better friend. I'm more present in conversation. Like I can go and say, listen, Jesus works for me. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that I'm like, man, I don't know. I really don't. And I could give you the answers that maybe you want to hear, or maybe what I think, or maybe say, well, here's some information that we have, and this is kind of the consensus, but I can't say, this is it. This is what it is. And honestly, when I've been able to do that, God has gotten so much bigger, and God has gotten so much more real in my life. Like a tangible presence that I care about and that I'm interested in pursuing more. One of my favorite quotes is like, God is not unknowable, but God is endlessly knowable. And so I feel like now for faith in my life, that's what I'm doing. Every day I'm waking up and I'm trying to know God a little more because I realize how much I lack. The flip side of that is I don't feel the need that I need to convert you to believe what I believe at this point. And before I felt like I had to fight for it so much, almost to an aggressive point, right? And when I look at Jesus, I'm like, oh, Jesus didn't do that. That wasn't his way. Jesus converted people through relationship and through community. And as I learn more and more, I almost feel like the gospel only works in community. Only works in relationship. I think like there's so many things that I'm learning, even salvation wise and faith wise, that have so much to do with us corporately that I think we've cut short. I think in American Christianity, we saw a need. And then we found the quickest way to fulfill the need, right? And so we got really good at selling a faith that was like, let people check off the box, like I don't have to worry about life after death. But then they don't have to think about it anymore. So it's a shallow faith. It's individualistic. I'm not scared that I'm going to die. And what that's led us to is, well, this world is not my home. I'm not going to take care of it. I don't need to care about other people. I don't need to care about this planet. I don't need to care about anything. When actually, like, a new heaven and earth is going to be right here, as tangible as, like, when you read N.T. Wright or something like that. This is what he talks about. It's like, no, heaven and earth is like, pinch your skin. This is it. It will be this tangible. So what happens now is eternal. And anything in love, like, lasts forever. And so you need to take care of yourself and you need to take care of the environment. I go as far as to say, like when Jesus was talking about eternal life in John, that he was really, that word eternal can be translated to mean fullest life. So I think at times he was not talking about this place we go when we die, but he was actually talking about a life to the fullest here and now, the kingdom of heaven at work in our lives as we live and breathe right now. And so I believe that heaven can be as tangible as this desk, and hell can be as tangible as this desk right now. And I think a lot of us are living in hells that we've created for ourselves, or heavens. And for me, it's changed some perspective for me, because I really believe heaven on earth is when we can join Jesus in the work that he's doing here. And so when I wake up, those are the things that I'm thinking about, more than anything. And that's where my faith goes. Can I join Jesus in the four walls of my own home with my wife and my kids, and then take that to the radio stations and to the songs and to the crowds when we gather, It's like, what are those ways of Jesus that I'm going to hold on to and really implement in my life that have made my life better? And I can say, no, without a doubt that this thing works for me. And am I okay with letting God do the rest and not having to figure it out on my own? And so the thing with that is you have to be a curious person. So I tend to be a lot more curious and open. You have to be okay with being wrong, which is hard for some of us. I think I'm learning to be more gracious in that. None of us want to be wrong. But if you come up to me and let me know, like I really take feedback well, I think at this point, and I'm open to a lot of people's feedback in all of that. And because I know that there's something that I'm like, there's 35,000 denominations of the Christian church in America. There's a lot of things we don't agree on. There's a lot of things we've all got wrong, but we all think we've got it, right? And so I think learning to let that go has been something. And it's weird that that's part of faith, especially if you've grown up in the church like I have, and gotten I've seen the worst of humanity in church. I really have. My wife did not grow up that way. She came to God much more naturally and kind of as a slow walk rather than this conversion thing. And it's taken me a lot of unlearning to love how she naturally loves and to see like God in people like she sees. And so it's been really interesting to walk this journey. And I don't think what I'm coming to grips with now is I don't think there's ever a destination. And I think the point is the steps and what we're doing with those for each other as we journey. And so that's kind of a synopsis of my life a bit in faith and how I've gotten here. And there's so many stories and so many things and left and right turns and fall downs and get ups and all of it in the middle. But where I find myself now is like God is more real than he's ever been. The way of Jesus is more present in my life, and I know less than I've ever known.
Do you want to share your Jesus story or know someone who should? Let us know at comments@onpurposely.com. If you loved Brought Back to Life, support us with a 5-star rating and review.